afternoon. How'd you characterize the round today?
It was a solid round, solid day. There were some scoring opportunities in the first 5 holes, and I was at even par and getting lapped by the guys in my group, and so it was nice to turn it on there. Saw one fall on 15 and then played really well. 15 in, 6 under on the last 12, I guess, and or 13 holes. So it's gettable right now, probably about as gettable as I remember. That rain changed the course dramatically, and obviously we're seeing that reflected in the scores. So, a lot of times on this golf course when you're quite a ways back and you shoot a good Saturday round, you move way up, and I know that I did just that, but the way it's playing, it's going to be more and more challenging for someone to come from way behind. But tomorrow's going to be windy, and maybe dries it out a little bit, and try and shoot another one of those tomorrow and see what happens.
I was going to ask you, it's supposed to get actually pretty darn windy out in the 20s mile per hour. Is that good for somebody like you that's got to chase?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want the hardest conditions when you're behind because you have very little to lose and a lot to gain. So I'll still kind of keep that attitude going into tomorrow regardless of where I stand, because I imagine I'll be at least 6 or 7 back.
Yeah, I know it's an obvious question, but also that aspect, the course is hard. So how much of it is trying to be aggressive and how much is you still got to be careful?
Well, very different tomorrow versus today. I mean, you look at, there's 4 par 5s, so that's the first thing you look at is trying to take advantage of the 4 par 5s regardless of how windy it is. Okay. Should be able to reach or get around the green in 2 in all those holes. And then, you get an opportunity on 12. There's a few shorter holes where maybe you get a wedge in your hand and you can attack. But other than that, it's going to be try and find the center of the green and go from there. And going to need to probably make a couple long ones or a chip in or something to have a special day when it gets super windy. But I'll be eyeing the hole on every shot. And again, like I said, not a whole lot to lose, and especially with the way my round finished yesterday, I have nothing to lose. Everything to gain.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. That bounce looking like it could be worth quite a few dollars. Were you able to get in touch with that guy?
Yeah, he's over there right now.
He's
an active Marine. His name's Matt. He didn't want anything. Yes, I spent a little time with him yesterday. He didn't want anything, but I thought if I could do anything for him, try to, and the tour stepped in and hooked him up too. So hopefully he's having a good weekend, and his knee. Once I found out he was an active Marine, I don't really think getting hit in the knee really does much to those guys. But I'd like to say once the cut moved to 2 over, I felt like I could have still finagled my way through, but it's still 2 shots that it saved me at least, and that'll make a difference regardless tomorrow.
And then there was some talk last week about like a back injury. Are you fine? Totally 100%?
Yeah, it was weird on number 10 on Sunday. But then I just swung a little easy for a couple holes, and then it was fine, and I got on it this week, and it has no issues at all, yeah.
Spasm?
I don't know. It was weird because my right side's been, but it was the left side, and I swung 200 miles an hour at a gap wedge to try and...
I remember the shot.
Because I didn't want to take any off of one and have it bounce, take the spin off. So it was an unusual situation that you really only get at Bay Hill or a U.S. Open. But, I just tweaked it, and by Tuesday afternoon I felt good. So.
Can you assess this? You've been on a long stretch, obviously. Can you assess, at least in your own mind, how that stretch has been and what how much tomorrow could make a difference to that?
It's been really good. I really feel that since kind of Monday of Phoenix is when I started kind of putting in kind of the swing stuff that I've been doing since, and just a little added thing that I was working on with Cameron, and I felt like it freed up a lot of my wedge play, and then I was driving the ball, the same or better. And then in this last off week, I did a lot of work 2 weeks ago with Cameron putting, and I putted really well last week as kind of the first time getting into setup in the stroke position that I'm working on, and this week's just been a continuation. It got better each day last week, and then it's been better this week. So to summarize this last stretch, I'm very I feel like I have momentum. I feel like things are trending. just got days like last Saturday and yesterday, they just need to be even par and not 2 and 3 over, and that just comes down to some discipline and decision making, and that's really it.
Are you slightly more bent over putting?
I guess so. I'm more like, it's more a left arm elbow feel for me than anything, but I am getting, and I'm just trying to lock in this left side, and which I may be a little more bent over than when I've been at my best, but the traction of everything is just to match. You know, if my ceiling putting has been best in the world, I have, you know, video, I can just match, you'd think, the stroke and the feel to then, and that's really the goal. There's no reason to try and do anything different than at that time period. And it feels really nice and tight, and inside a 10, it's been really solid this week, and I've made a few outside as well. So
you always do.
Was that the reason for the change, to be more solid inside?
It was more just I've had a tendency for a few years that's been a really bad tendency, and it was trying to continue to find ways, instead of just in a path feel, but actually in a big. I'm trying to take my hands out and use my big muscles more. I've always been a little handsy putting in a good way. A lot of great putters are handsy. Ricky Fowler, Tiger uses hands. Ben Crenshaw. So I think I'll always still have that, but I was relying on it, and I was having to save it.
You feel like you lose consistency because of that?
When it goes to too much, for sure, because when I would have pressure on, or as I got closer to the hole, I didn't have time to make up for what was going on in the stroke, and it was, you know, I was just putting really bad strokes on it. Now I feel like I don't have to save it, and it's a very freeing feeling. It just needs more and more reps in tournament rounds, and it just gets better.
Thanks, John.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.